Hello students, welcome back to the sixth part of first module of Marketing of Services. This is Dr. Ram Singh, Assistant Professor, School of Management, BBD University, Lucknow. Let's move ahead. In this lecture, we will discuss about consumer behavior in service industry. We will try to understand the consumer. In last lecture on when we talked about marketing environment, we have discussed customers or the consumer as the one of the important part of micro environment. So of course all the services are delivering or they are created for customers only, they are delivering to customers only. So it is very much important to understand the behavior of customer, to understand the behavior of this consumer, that how they use this service, what is the process behind this, right? So let's have a look. So coming on, what are the various factors that shape the consumer behavior in case of service consumption? So there are many factors, and these factors must be properly analyzed and understood by the service provider, that how the service how the services will be accepted by the consumer, how the consumer is going to respond for the various services provided by the service provider. So let's have a look on this factor. So first is your cultural factor. Now culture plays a very important role, right? Before availing any kind of service, before buying any kind of goods, it is the culture that determines the consumption pattern of the particular customers, right? So culture factors include subculture, right, and social class also. So culture, what is culture? Try to understand. Culture refers to the values, practices of customs of the people in the particular society. So there are various factors that contributes towards this culture. You can have like religion, like the ethnic group or the fashions. All these factors contributing towards shaping the culture of the particular society. So it is very much important to take care of these cultural factors before designing the services, right? Before designing your marketing campaign, right? So it is very much important. Now coming on the next factor, that is social factor. Consumer behavior again influenced by the society itself, as we know that we are living in the society, customer living in the society. So these kind of social factors must be taken into consideration, because before availing the particular service or before buying goods, customer of course is a social animal, so he will consult his colleagues or his society about the services, right? That what will be best for me. So here the two factors are very much important, that is reference groups and family. So when we talk about reference group, so reference group can be primary in the forms of friends and work colleagues, right? Your friends before going for any kind of services, right? When you are going to visit doctor, so you always consult your friends or your colleagues that who can be the best doctor for me, right? So, and who will be the specialist for this disease, right? So again, reference group, primary reference group is in the form of your friends and work colleagues with whom you are making the two-way communication, right? Then second is then another is the secondary reference group. Then what is secondary reference group? Secondary reference group consists of it is in the form of the remote personality with whom you are not making the two-way communication, but still it is influencing your purchasing behavior. How it can be? You can take example of any of the brand ambassador, right? For example, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan endorse any product or the services. So of course, if you are following him or and you are having a like for Amitabh Bachchan, so of course yes, you will feel like yes, this product is good for me as it is endorsed by Mr. Bachchan, right? So you can have this secondary group, reference group, where there is no two-way communication, but still it is going to influence the customers, right? Still the brand ambassador influence the purchasing decision of the customer. If that particular brand ambassador endorse the product, and if the customer is having the like for that particular brand ambassador, right, if he follows that particular brand ambassador, of course he will go for this product, right, or the services. Then another important factor that affect the consumer behavior is family itself, because many times it happens that yes, you want that particular service, you want a particular product, but your family members say no, not this time. So of course yes, you are not going to avail that service. Many times your family members change your opinion, right? So it is very much important for the marketers to know the role of these family in purchasing behavior, right? Marketers are always interested in the roles and influence of family members like parents, children, spouse on the purchases of goods and services. Now another factor is your personal factor, right? What kind of the personal characteristics that customer is having, like what is the age of customer, what we have seen in the we have discussed that yes, buyer's age is very much important. What kind of the age the customer belongs to, according to this age group the needs changes, right? Then his family life cycle, what is the stage of family life cycle, what is the occupation, lifestyle, that's all factors influence the buyer's decisions. Then psychological factor also there, right? What things that motivate the customers to avail the particular service, right? What is the perception, belief and attitude of the customers for the particular services. So of course the analysis of these factors help significantly in understanding the consumers. Now coming on the next important topic, that service consumption model. We have discussed all the factors. Now let's have a look at this consumer behavior process. Just have a look on this service consumption model. So service consumption model can be divided into the three stages. It can be pre-purchase stage, service encounter stage and post-service encounter stage. You can see over here. So pre-purchase stage consists of need awareness, information search, evaluation of alternatives and making purchase decision. So these are pre-purchase stage. This stage is that where the customer is the preparation on all the steps that customer taken before finally making the purchase of the particular service, right? So then second is your service encounter stage. It is the stage where the customer is having service encounter stage. Customer having first time face to face with the service provider. He requests the service and he avails the service. So this is service encounter stage. And then post service encounter stage, that once the customer avails that particular service, so what are the steps that he will take, right? So here how he is going to evaluate the service performance, and on the basis of this evaluation of the performance of the service, customer makes mind about his future intentions for the service provider. Either he is going to use that services again or not, he is going to use the services. So in pre-purchase stage, we are having this need awareness, information search, evaluation of alternatives and making purchasing decision. Let's have a look. So first of all, the first step before when you are thinking of the service, the first step is that feeling the need for that, right? So when a person decides to buy a service, it is triggered by the underlying needs. It is triggered by the need arousal, right? So these needs may triggered by people's unconscious mind. What happens many times, certain needs are in our unconscious mind, right? But yes, when it is triggered by some kind of advertisement, right, then it comes into play and we are start thinking of, yes, I am the need of this particular product. For example, आप इंटरनेट यूज कर रहे हैं एंड आप फेस कर रहे हो, यू आर फेसिंग द डिफिकल्टी इन द स्पीड, राइट, इन ब्राउजिंग द पेजेस. सो समवेयर आपके माइंड में ये एक प्रॉब्लम कहीं ना कहीं नीड और रिक्वायरमेंट आपके अनकॉन्शियस माइंड में है कि ये मैं रोज इस टाइप की प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहा हूँ. वो आपके अनकॉन्शियस माइंड में है. यू आर नॉट थिंकिंग ऑफ गेटिंग द और चेंजिंग योर सर्विस प्रोवाइडर, बट यस कहीं ना कहीं माइंड में है कि यस इस टाइप की दिक्कतें हैं मेरे पास, राइट. या आपको लगता है कि यस इस चीज़ की ज़रूरत मेरे को आगे पड़ सकती है, कहीं ना कहीं आपके अनकॉन्शियस माइंड में है. जब आप कोई एडवर्टीजमेंट देखते हो, मान लीजिए आपने कोई इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है जिसने अपनी नई सर्विस अभी लॉन्च करी है और आप वो एडवर्टीजमेंट को देखते हो, तो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम आपके माइंड में वो जो कहीं ना कहीं अनकॉन्शियस माइंड में जो नीड थी आपकी, वो आपकी माइंड में प्ले होने लगती है एंड यू आर स्टार्ट थिंकिंग ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट और द सर्विस, राइट. आप सोच रहे थे कि ऐसे भाई इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर से बात करते हैं, एक बार एक आइडिया ले लिया जाए. देन पर्सनल नीड्स, what kind of the personal needs you are having at that particular point of time, it again influence your need arousal, right. Then external sources may be your friends or your colleagues, right, if they are availing that particular service. कि आपका दोस्त कोई सर्विस लेकर आया, आपका दोस्त सैलून होके आया, तो देन यू आर थिंकिंग, ओ यस मुझे भी जाना चाहिए. So this is how the consumption process starts. It starts with need arousal. It starts with need awareness. जब आपको जरूरत महसूस होती है तभी आप उस सर्विस को अवेल करने के लिए अगला कदम उठाते हैं. तो चलिए, पहला हो गया कि आपको जरूरत महसूस होना, दैट इज नीड अवेयरनेस. अब एक बार जरूरत आपको महसूस हो कि यस अब हमें ये सर्विस अवेल करनी है, कस्टमर को जरूरत महसूस हो गई, तो अब अगला स्टेप क्या है? द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इज इंफॉर्मेशन सर्च. आपको लगा कि यस ये जरूरत है, मेरे पास ऐसी चीज़ें होनी चाहिए, मुझे अब एक नया सर्विस प्रोवाइडर चाहिए, इंटरनेट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर चाहिए. तो अगला स्टेप क्या होगा? आपने वो एडवर्टीजमेंट देख के आपके अंदर नीड अराइज हुई, आपने उनसे बात की, आपको समझ नहीं आया, लेकिन वो नीड अराइज हो गई. अब आप चाह रहे हैं कि मुझे एक नया फास्ट इंटरनेट सर्विस चाहिए. तो व्हाट द नेक्स्ट स्टेप? द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इज टू take the action to resolve that need, right. Customer will look for the various solutions to satisfy the particular need. So several alternatives may come in the mind, right. आपके माइंड में अलग अलग alternatives आएंगे, right, and these alternatives is in the form the evoked set. तो ये समझना जरूरी कि what are evoked set, ये समझते हैं. evoked set means कि जब आपको जरूरत महसूस हुई, when you feel the need for the particular service, so what are the various brands that you may prefer? What are the various brands that you may prefer? The set of brands that comes into your mind as an alternative forms your evoked set, right. If you are, let's take another example. If you are thinking of going to restaurant, right, तो आपके माइंड में रेस्टोरेंट्स, या यू आर थिंकिंग टू हैव अ लंच, राइट. तो आपके माइंड में अलग अलग ऑप्शंस हैं. यू कैन हैव साउथ इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट, you can have Chinese restaurant, you can have fast food restaurant, right, pizza, etc. Then these are the evoked set that comes into your mind. Now from these evoked set, इसमें कई सारे रेस्टोरेंट हो सकते हैं आपके माइंड में. evoked set consist of n number of items in your mind. तो उन सारे n number of items को एक समय पे कंसिडर करना, एक समय पे सबको इवेल्युएट करना इज नॉट पॉसिबल. तो कस्टमर क्या करता है? कस्टमर उनमें से जो वाकई में उसको लगता है कि यस इट इज मोर फिजिबल फॉर मी और इट विल बी मोर एज पर माई रिक्वायरमेंट, कस्टमर उसको नैरो डाउन कर लेता, अपनी इवोक सेट को नैरो डाउन कर लेता, उनमें से कुछ अल्टरनेटिव्स को निकाल लेता जिसको वाकई में वो सीरियसली कंसिडर करना चाहता है, राइट. तो आपके पास अलग अलग ऑप्शन है. आपने कहा यस आई विल ओनली थिंकिंग ऑफ आइदर चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट और विल गो फॉर फास्ट फूड रेस्टोरेंट, राइट. अब आपने उसमें से क्या किया, जो इवोक सेट था उसमें से आपने कुछ 2-4 अल्टरनेटिव्स निकाल लिए. सो दीज अल्टरनेटिव्स आर नोन एज कंसिडरेशन सेट. दीज इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ दोज अल्टरनेटिव दैट आर यू आर रियली कंसिडर, दैट यू आर सीरियस फॉर consideration, right. So customer narrow down the evoked set to the few alternatives, that is known as consideration set. सो आई सपोज कि इवोक सेट और कंसिडरेशन सेट का कॉन्सेप्ट आपका क्लियर हो गया होगा। आगे मूव ऑन करते हैं। अब आपने निकाल लिए अपने इवोक सेट और से आपने कंसिडरेशन सेट निकाल लिया। नाउ यू आर हैविंग सम ऑफ द फ्यू अल्टरनेटिव्स। नाउ द प्रोसेस इज इवोल्यूशन ऑफ दोज अल्टरनेटिव, राइट? सो अगेन it is very much important to compare these alternatives or the alternative offerings by the service provider. So now customers evaluate these services on the basis of the service attributes. So first is your search attributes, that when you are thinking of when you are thinking of the particular brand, then you have selected that particular brand, or you have chosen the particular brands for your really you are going to consider. So the next step is to search more about that particular brand. That is your search attributes, right? So search attributes is tangible. When you search for that, you will find advertisements, you will find out some details on the internet, you will find out you can see you will find out more information from your friends. So it can be search attributes are basically more tangible. You can find out, you can have discussion with your friends, you can find out some kind of tangible elements of that particular service. So this is your search attributes. Second attributes is your experience attributes. Now these attributes can be only feel when once you experience the service. Experience attributes can be only known once you experience the service. So again it is intangible. Search attributes of the service is tangible, while experience attributes is intangible in nature. Then credence attribute. Credence means this is again very important attribute, right? Credence attributes are those attributes about which customer is not sure that he has got the best सर्विस, राइट? कस्टमर किसी डॉक्टर के पास जाता है, ऑपरेशन हो जाता है, सर्जरी हो जाती है, बट आफ्टर दैट ही कांट से दैट यस आई वाज ऑपरेटेड बाय द बेस्ट डॉक्टर इन द सिटी। कहने कि उसके माइंड में ये होता है कि हो सकता है इससे अच्छा भी मुझे मिल सकता था। अब ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है सर्विस प्रोवाइडर के लिए कि भाई क्रेडेंस एट्रीब्यूट्स ऑफ द सर्विस को किस ढंग से कस्टमर के माइंड से जो ये डाउट है इसको हटाया जाए, राइट? कहना कि कस्टमर को कहीं ना कहीं माइंड में ये ना रहे कि ये कहीं ना कहीं जो मैंने सर्विस ली है उससे बेटर हम ले सकते थे। तो इट कैन बी डन बाय द हेल्प ऑफ क्रेडेंशियल्स ऑफ द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर। क्रेडेंशियल्स मीन्स डॉक्यूमेंट्स, राइट? आप डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं तो वहाँ क्या देखते हैं? डॉक्टर्स के जो प्रिस्क्रिप्शंस हैं, जो डॉक्टर का प्रिस्क्रिप्शन है उसके ऊपर आप उनकी डिग्रीज, उनके एक्सपीरियंस वो वहाँ पे लिखा रहता है, राइट? दैट ही इज MBBS, राइट? MCH, he is MBBS, ND, MCH, you can find the degree over there, right? आप टीचर से पढ़ रहे हैं तो आप ये कैसे जानेंगे भी टीचर जो है वो बेस्ट है, राइट? आपको एश्योर, आपको लगता है कि नहीं ये जो टीचर है उतने बेस्ट नहीं है, हो सकता है इनसे अच्छा मुझे मिल सकता है। तो भाई अब ये तो पढ़ने के बाद ही पता चल सकता है, लेकिन पढ़ने के बाद तब पता चलेगा जब आप उस बेस्ट तक पहुंचेंगे। तो अब ये एश्योर कैसे किया जाए कि आप जिनसे पढ़ रहे हैं वो बेस्ट टीचर हैं आपके लिए? तो अगेन यहाँ पे क्या होता है? टीचर्स की डिग्रीज, राइट? ही इज नेट क्वालिफाइड, ही इज JRF क्वालिफाइड, ही इज डॉक्टरेट इन दैट particular teacher. So of course this degree helps in providing trust to the customers, yes, that you are getting the best services, right? These credentials assures that yes, you are getting the best services, customer is getting the best services. Then when making the evaluation of alternatives, again it is very important the concept of perceived risk. Of course, yes, customer looks for the various risks that is associated with that particular service. So first is your functional risk. There may be the chance that yes, there may be the failure of the service, right? Whatever the attributes you want from that service, customer के mind में एक रहता है कि कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि जो चीज़ मैं चाह रहा हूँ मुझे ना मिले. Like functional risk, failure of the particular service, or the financial risk. It involves कि कस्टमर के माइंड में रहता है कहीं ना कहीं it involves the risk of loss in terms of monetary terms, loss in monetary terms, right? Then there may be temporal risk, right? कस्टमर को लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं इसमें जो है टाइम मेरा जो कंज्यूम हो रहा है, it can be the wastage of time for me. Then physical risk, right? Risk to your it can physical risk involves damage to your positions or damage, or it can be any kind of injury, right? Physical risk में आप मान लीजिए कोई पार्सल करने जाते हैं, राइट, तो जब आप पार्सल करने जाते हैं तो आप या कोरियर करने जाते हैं तो आपके माइंड में हमेशा एक रिस्क रहता है कि भाई सेफली मेरा जो पार्सल है वो मेरे फ्रेंड्स तक या मेरे फैमिली मेम्बर्स तक पहुंच जाए। कहीं ऐसा ना कि ऑन द वे कहीं उसमें कोई उसको डैमेज ना हो जाए, कहीं वो ख़राब ना हो जाए। या आप कोई भी सर्विस अवेल करने जाते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल आप एम्यूजमेंट पार्क जाते हैं, तो माइंड में कहीं ना कहीं फिजिकल रिस्क की एक रहता है आपके माइंडसेट में कि कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि कोई किसी तरह की इंजरी ना हो। सो राइट, दे आर प्रोवाइडिंग विद सेफ्टी बेल्ट्स एंड ऑल। जब आप कोई ड्राइव करते हो, कुछ टाइप का कुछ आप करते हो, राइट, तो सेफ्टी बेल्ट्स होते हैं, वहाँ पे इंतजाम सारे होते हैं, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं एक माइंड में फिजिकल रिस्क की बात भी रहती है। देन साइकोलॉजिकल रिस्क, कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ द रिस्क, दैट इज सम काइंड ऑफ इमोशनल रिस्क, राइट, इमोशनल रिस्क। व्हेन यू पर्टिकुलर केस ऑफ जब आप किसी काउंसलर की हेल्प लेते हो या डॉक्टर के पास जाते हो, तो यू ऑलवेज फील लाइक कि कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि वो किस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस मुझसे पूछेगा, और व्हाट काइंड ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस डॉक्टर काउंसलर कैन आस्क मी, whether I will be able to answer those questions or not, right? Whether it may be emotional, right? Some kind of psychological risk that you relate with your psychology, whether I will be able to answer those questions, or whether these questions how these questions can be handled. So such kind of psychological risk can be there. Then social risk. So before going to the availing the service, there is always in the mindset that what other will think if I will avail this service. So you can take example of pubs, right? When customer goes to the pubs or bars, there is always in the mindset that yes, what are the if what kind of the people thinking of if it is not seems to be good in particular culture. So before visiting the pubs or bars, there is always in a mindset that what other will see, right? So these are some of the risks that are associated with the services. So these risks comes into the play when customer make the evaluation of alternatives. So in the light of all, customer finally evaluate the alternatives and move towards making purchasing decision, right? So of course, purchasing decision for services having low perceived risk are quite simple, whereas purchase decision for high perceived risk is complex and trade-offs can involve multiple attributes, right? जहाँ पे risk low है, ये perceived risk जहाँ पे low है, वहाँ पे कस्टमर सर्विसेज को आसानी से ले लेता है, बट जहाँ पे परसीव रिस्क ज़्यादा है वहाँ पे कई सारे ऑप्शंस को, कई सारे एट्रीब्यूट्स को कस्टमर देखने के बाद बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोसेस होता है जब कोई आप हाई परसीव रिस्क होता है जिस सर्विस के साथ। फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ कस्टमर इज गोइंग फॉर हैव अ मेजर सर्जरी, राइट, ओपन हार्ट सर्जरी, इन दैट केस व्हाट हैपन, हाई रिस्क इज इन्वॉल्व्ड, हाई परसीव रिस्क इज इन्वॉल्व। तो वहां पे वैसा नहीं जो डॉक्टर मिलेगा उसके पास जाके ऑपरेट करा लेगा, नो, ही विल थिंकिंग ऑफ मैनी टाइम्स, ही विल थिंकिंग ऑफ दैट हु कैन बी द बेस्ट ऑप्शन, right? So finally all these process completes, then finally now customer move from this pre-purchase stage towards the purchase stage, right, towards the service encounter stage. Now he has made the mind to yes move towards service encounter stage. Now service encounter stage, it is the first time when a customer interact directly with the service firm, right? And it is also known as moment of truth. Why service encounter stage is known as moment of truth? Because it is the moment where the reality of the service provider comes into the you can say reality of the service provider comes in front of the customers. What he was expecting, it is the first moment where the customer is really interacting with the service provider, right? So of course these moments are very important because these moments affect the future intention of the customers, right? These are the moment where the service provider should work on to retain the customer for the future, right? These are the moment where the stake of service provider as well as where the this thing, I mean that service provider and customers both are at the position where their repo is at stake, right? जहाँ पे ये वो स्टेज है, मोमेंट ऑफ ट्रूथ क्यों कहा गया है, बिकॉज यही वो स्टेज है जो पहला इंप्रेशन कस्टमर के मायने बनाती है, और इसी स्टेज पे दोनों की जो रेपो है, जो दोनों की बॉन्डिंग है, वो स्टेक पे होती है, वो दांव पे लगी होती है। अगर ये मोमेंट ऑफ ट्रूथ अच्छे निकल गए, अच्छे बीत गया, सो ऑफ कोर्स यस कस्टमर विल बी हैविंग द लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशन विद द कंपनी। सो ये मोमेंट ऑफ ट्रूथ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो सर्विस एनकाउंटर स्टेज में क्या क्या होगा, पहला कस्टमर मेक द रिक्वेस्ट फॉर द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर फॉर अवेलिंग द सर्विस, एंड फाइनली सर्विस इज डिलीवर्ड टू द कस्टमर्स. Now coming on post service encounter, so what kind of the experience that customer have in this service encounter stage, on the basis of that he will be having the future intention, he will be having the attitude and response for the particular service, right? So this is the last stage of service consumption. It involves consumer's attitude and behavior response to the service experience. So of course important responses can be in terms of customer satisfaction, right? If the customer is satisfied, if he is satisfied in this moment of truth, right, then what happened, he will be having repeat purchases, it is future intentions. But if customer get frustrated, customer get dissatisfied, if the customers get dissatisfied, they are not going to make the repeat purchases and they will switch to the other service provider. So I hope that this consumption model is clear to you, various factors that affect this consumption behavior of the customers is clear to you.
So students, in this way we have seen that consumer behavior plays a very important role in assessing the expectation of customers. We have discussed that consumer behavior starts with need recognition. Behavior of the consumer is for making purchase of the services starts with the need recognition, and from either from unconscious mind, or it can be either from some external source, or either from some kind of physical status at that particular point of time, what kind of physical condition or the status of the customer at particular point of time. Then once the needs is recognized, customer makes all the attempt to satisfy that needs. For that he go for the next stage, that is of information search. He searches for the various sources, various alternatives, and in that we have discussed the evoked set and consideration set. When we talk about evoked set, it is the set of all the brands that is related to the purchases, all the brands that is related to the purchases of the particular service, and of course this evoked set consists of n number of items. So it is not possible for the customer to consider all these items at the same time. So customer goes for narrow down this evoked set to the consideration set. This consideration set consists of only few of the brands that the customer really considers seriously. And once the consideration set is recognized, then the next step is evaluation of alternatives. Customer makes the evaluation of all of the available alternatives in the light of the characteristics of services, that is search attributes, experience attributes, and credence attributes. Once the alternatives are evaluated, the next points that comes to be over there is to make the final purchase decision, and from here onward the service encounter stage comes into existence. Customer makes first time interaction with the service provider. So this service encounter stage is known as moment of truth, because it is the stage where the is going to become in front of the customer. So this moment of truth are very important, because at this moment of truth the relationship between the customer and the service provider is the moment of truth decides whether the relationship will continue or not. During this moment of truth with the service provider, he will be having a long-term relationship with the service provider. Otherwise, he may drop the idea of choosing the service provider in future. So this moment of truth plays a very important role provider to retain the customers. Then next stage is post-purchase stage. During this stage, customer make the evaluation of the services provided by the company, and he form his future intention whether to use these services or not. If he is satisfied, of course yes, he will be having the future intention to make the repeat purchases with the service provider. But if he is not satisfied, then he is not going to make the purchases with the service provider in future. So this is the idea about consumer behavior process in services. So we have discussed about the consumption model in this lecture. So see you in the next lecture. Till then,